Our story today is about a criminal landlord who exploits farmers and single laborers. But when he finds out that his daughter is having an affair with a farmer, he betrays the farmer and brutally mutilates him. The movie begins by introducing a farmer named Marco, who is enjoying time in the fields with a girl named Bianca. Bianca's sister Maria quietly watches this romantic moment. Later, Marco tells Bianca to meet him at night and to keep this a secret from Maria. Maria warns Bianca, saying she's playing with fire because Marco is a married man and has a son. But Bianca doesn't care. She doesn't realize how deeply this relationship is going to impact her life. We are then introduced to Marco's elderly mother, Ninita, her daughter-in-law Lucio, and Marco's son. Ninita is baking bread with them. She asks Lucio where Marco is and why he hasn't returned home, but Lucio has no idea. Meanwhile, Bianca's father, Kappa, a wealthy landlord, is watching the laborers work in the fields alongside his son Cosimo. When his daughters come to bring him food, he tells the workers to rest. He then looks at a young girl sitting nearby and comments, "You must have worked hard this morning." Later, when that girl is alone, Kappa takes advantage of the situation and assaults her. Outside, Maria overhears the girl's painful cries. That night, Marco is seen at a bar with his friend Vincenzo. There, he sees landlord Don buying the crops from farmers at extremely low prices, crops the farmers have labored over for years. Don pays them so little that they can't even make ends meet. Marco can't tolerate this injustice. He humiliates Don publicly and declares that he'll ensure fair prices for the farmers. Don leaves angrily. The next morning, Marco meets Bianca under a tree. They dance to romantic songs, and things get intimate. Marco starts painting a dream of a new life with her. Meanwhile, Don begins poisoning Kappa's mind against Marco. He reminds the mayor that Kappa owns all the land and that Marco could become a threat to their business. Slowly, Kappa turns against Marco. To calm Don, Kappa assures him that he will soon put down the farmers' rebellion. Tensions begin to rise in the village. One night, Marco is summoned and sees people causing a scene outside Kappa's house. He calms them down and says he'll handle the matter. He goes inside to talk to Kappa, who asks Bianca to bring drinks. Kappa then casually asks Marco if he knows his daughter Bianca. Bianca denies it, raising Kappa's suspicions, but he lets it go for the moment. Kappa starts talking about Don and how Marco insulted him. Marco responds by saying Don exploits farmers and makes triple profits while farmers struggle to earn enough for 2 meals a day. That same night, 2 farmers stop Don's car and beat him unconscious. The next morning, Don files a police complaint. Later that night, Marco sneaks into Bianca's room and takes her to the fields. There, he confesses his love, and they get intimate again. A few days later, Marco meets Bianca in an abandoned place and tells her he wants to marry her. They again share an intimate moment. Marco gives her a letter, saying they will leave for Paris where his brother lives. He asks her to give the letter to her father. But Bianca's brother Cosimo sees all this and informs Kappa, who becomes furious. When Bianca walks in, he scolds her, saying she lacks nothing, yet both his daughters are shameless. Bianca remains unaffected. She strips in front of him and questions, "Why aren't you happy seeing me like this? Don't you enjoy looking at women like this in the fields?" The next day, Marco visits Kappa alone to hand him the letter. Kappa shows him around the fields, and then suddenly strikes Marco on the head and kills him. He then uses a sharp knife to mutilate Marco's private parts. Marco's dead body is later found tied to his horse in the middle of the village. His family and Bianca are devastated. The entire village is shocked, having lost a brave companion. Marco's brother Antonio hears of the tragedy and decides to leave the city and return to the village. Meanwhile, farmers are being arrested one by one and falsely blamed for Marco's murder since no one is left to protect them. Marco's body is taken for burial. Bianca is still mourning. The police try to close the case, but Antonio is not satisfied. Outside the police station, Vincenzo tells Antonio that Marco had affairs with many women, but Bianca was special. He lost his senses after meeting her. When Antonio discusses this with his father, he replies, Marco gave people hope, and that was his biggest mistake. To defeat devils, you must become one, but Marco wasn't a devil. That's why he was killed. Now that Antonio knows the truth, he goes to confront Kappa and says, I know you killed my brother. Kappa casually replies, Marco got what he deserved, and warns Antonio to leave the village before his father loses another son. Antonio begins preparing to return to Paris. After saying goodbye to everyone, his friend Vincenzo puts him on the bus. On the way, Antonio suddenly sees a vision of Marco and feels something strange. He sneaks back into the village and brutally kills Kappa and his son. He leaves their blood-soaked bodies in the village square, at the same spot where Marco's body had once been. No one in the village knows who did it. Everyone assumes it was the farmers. The villagers now refuse to buy anything from Kappa's daughters, Maria and Bianca. Their condition worsens. They are effectively exiled from the village due to their father's misdeeds. To survive, they had to ask for help. They wanted to manage their father's fields, but the man helping them was more interested in Bianca's beauty than their struggles. Bianca realizes his intentions and runs away. Meanwhile, Antonio loses focus at work, and an accident injures one of his colleagues. His girlfriend is preparing to move in with him, but Antonio has completely changed after Marco's death. Eventually, Antonio returns to the village. When Bianca sees him, she imagines Marco in his place. And that's when she realizes, Marco still lives inside Antonio.